audio looks good.
All right.
And yeah, are we good to go?
Are we good?
You
Episode 30.
Hey, 38.
38.
Yeah. So yeah, welcome to Director's Debrief, episode 38. That's an insane number.
It is an insane number.
Just from a commitment level.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to me.
It is. Do you know what's better than 38 though?
What's that?
It's 50.
50?
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. I can't wait till we get to the 50.
I can't wait to 52 because that marks 1 year of weekly episodes.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Can you believe that? When we get to that point, we would have made an episode every week.
Wow. We would have been looking at Ram every week.
Yeah, and he would have been looking right back at us.
Like that.
Like that,
Just like, what are you guys talking about this week? What on earth? So, Ram, come on. Tell us, what do you want us to talk about?
What are we talking about?
I used to, but you guys never used to talk about them.
Okay.
No, listen, you gave us questions.
So go back to those things.
Yeah.
And
what do you want to know about? What do you want to listen to two old guys gabbing about? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
You know.
You're as old as me now.
Yeah, I know.
All right. No. What's annoying you in the world right now, Ram? Within reason.
Okay, can I talk about something that is going to annoy you that I did recently?
Okay.
I bought something online, and I
bought something online?
I bought something. That's not.
You're killing retail business.
If that's what's getting you going, you're not going to like where this is going. No, I bought something, and I haven't paid for it yet. That's right. I bought now, and I'll be paying later.
Buy now, pay later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Come on. You know I've always got an answer ready.
Yeah.
That doesn't annoy me.
I know. Okay. Why does it not annoy you?
Because that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why would you not take advantage of low interest, 0% interest?
Yeah.
Why would you not take advantage of that?
Yeah.
On something you genuinely need, require,
yeah.
and is a high upfront cost
yeah.
that you don't necessarily want to take out of your cash flow straight away, right? And there's a difference between having it and not. The thing that I'm against is when people are buying Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
I was about to say shoes, but I know they don't do shoes. Bags.
Wait, no, they don't.
Do they do shoes?
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Oh. I found out they don't do clothing, though, do they? They do clothing. Oh. Obviously, I haven't got mine yet. It's coming soon. But Louis Vuitton bags.
Yeah.
Let's say that. And they're putting it on things like Klarna.
Yeah.
Or buy now, pay later schemes. It's like, no, this is not what you use it for.
Yeah. Do you know what really bugged me about this? Because I wanted to, the only reason why I put it on buy, it was a mattress. I did it buy now, pay later. I put all the money in a Monzo pot, and I was like, do you know what? This is an opportunity to improve my credit score. Mm-hmm. I looked online and it does nothing for your credit score. And that was really annoying because it's added inconvenience to me now. Mm-hmm. I have to go in and manually pay it off. But
but that look, you're gonna have that bed mattress for, say, average mattress 5 years.
Yeah.
So say you have it for 5 years, right?
Should be 8 to 10, but
let's just say at
5.
least 5. Yeah. Okay, it's a good quality one. So you're hoping for 8 to 10 years,
yeah.
right? How is it, by the way? It's not arrived yet.
4 days. I'm so excited.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah. Okay. My thing is, like I said, non-essentials that people are stretching.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily they don't cost a ridiculous amount. It's not like a mattress that needs to be spread over.
Yeah.
They're buying these micro purchases as well, or designer micro purchases, but they're continuous. So you're continuously spreading everything you have, which means you're just putting yourself in a debt cycle for products and goods that aren't the essentials.
Yeah.
And there is no end to it. And it's the same as credit card debt. It's the same as anything else. And our system allows it. Our system allows people to go into debt regularly for things they don't need.
Are you against debt in general? Let's
No.
talk about debt. Debt is a good podcast topic.
Yeah. I'm not. I think the only issue is with debt, it always goes too far.
Yeah.
And in the macroeconomic environment we're in, we're actually coming to the end of our debt cycle, as we call it. But that's much out there, where our governments, our businesses, but certainly our governments have continuously borrowed.
Right.
Where there is no light at the end of the tunnel. We will never pay back the money that is owed to the bondholders, right?
Yeah. By the way, what is the national debt?
There's a debt calculator.
Yeah. Let's. The U.S. federal debt is currently 28 trillion in 2021. Mm-hmm. So you just raised an interesting point because like to fucking who? Who owes this money?
Bondholders.
Okay.
So have you ever put money in a bond or bought a premium bond or anything like that?
I know people who have.
Why have you not done it? Because it gives you nothing these days, right? People used to do this regularly and they used to get 10%. Yeah. Imagine if you got 10% on a bond, you'd put your money in one, right? We don't have that these days because interest rates are rock bottom. They're real low.
Yeah.
So no one does that. No one our age. But these, so the governments borrow money from these bondholders. So you'll put your 10K in and then they'll use that and they'll give you a little return every year or every so on.
Okay.
So other governments buy these bonds as well. So say Saudi Arabia, they buy US foreign debt. People like to buy US debt because it's stable.
Okay.
Or it has been to date.
So this is a product. You're describing a product essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Now here's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
If there aren't bond buyers,
like
Saudi Arabia or you or anyone to buy the US debt, the US Fed can come in and buy its own bonds.
Okay.
So it's essentially buying debt from itself.
At what kind of pricing, more or less?
No, it's just keeping the market going so that the US government can keep borrowing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I'm a little bit lost here, though.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie to you.
All right. So where are we lost? Let's quickly simplify this.
Okay, so you've got bonds.
Yeah.
And then other countries come in and buy these bonds. Where was the initial debt, I think, is where I was sort of lost.
So why is there 28 trillion?
Yeah. Where did that stem from?
Basically, let's say you have all of what are the government expenses? Let's say in the UK, you've got the NHS, you've got pavements, you've got army. Yeah, army's a huge one. Military's a huge one. Nuclear power.
Yeah.
Everything that goes on, everything that you expect from the government, safety, security, carbon emission reduction schemes, whatever they're doing, that are their expenses, just like a business.
Yes.
And they have their income coming in, which is their revenue, which is their tax revenue, right? Yeah. Like any business, you should hope that your revenue is higher than your expenses.
Like any good business.
Good business, right? Otherwise, or you'd hope that it quickly turns into that if it's not for a certain period of time. The government has been running like a loss business for many, many years. In fact, the UK government has not turned a profit in many, many years.
And this is what I'm assuming is known as the deficit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's an annual deficit.
Yeah.
So when they say we're reducing the deficit, they're not reducing the overall debt.
Just the
what they're doing is reducing the loss they're making per year. So rather than 10 billion loss, they'll make 5 billion in loss. But they're still adding to the debt every year because they're borrowing more and more every year.
Okay, cool. And then they borrow this money from who? Other countries?
What they do is they issue bonds. So say they need to go out into the market and borrow the deficit of 5 billion that they need to make up to balance the books.
Yeah.
They'll sell these bonds to people, to anyone. So you buy a bond in the UK government and they say, we're going to pay you a rate. Yeah. Now the rate is determined by the market, but it's usually around, it's low. So at the moment it could be a 0.3%.
Yeah. That's insane. So they're creating this product, which is a bond, selling it to the general people.
Yeah.
Almost.
So the person is essentially buying into the UK. So it's like, I want it, just like you buy shares in a company.
Yeah.
I want a piece of the UK because I think this is going to grow.
Right.
Or this is going to give me a return.
Yeah.
But what it quickly turned from is this is going to give me a return to this is stable and at least I know my money's safe.
Yeah.
So pension funds, they have an allocation of 100 billion.
Yeah.
They by default have to allocate a certain percentage to bonds because to keep the stability, because you don't want your pension all going into cryptocurrency, do you? You want it to be bold and to be, to preserve its value.
Yeah.
The issue here is bonds give you a return of 0.5%, 1%, 2%.
So
inflation
you're not that interested anymore?
Inflation is 10%.
Yeah, 11, I believe.
Right. So you literally do the maths. You can do this. 11 minus 2, 9. You're losing 9% of your purchasing power every year. That whatever you put the 100 billion is actually worth next year, and it's compounded year after year after year.
Holy crap. Okay, you've actually clarified so much for me then. Okay, and then in terms of a country buying its own bonds back, Is that where it gives the money back to the bond bearers?
Yeah,
takes it back?
that's slight complexity there, but essentially what it's doing is the government comprises of so many different areas. So the government will issue, the Treasury and so on will issue these bonds out, but then there's the Federal Reserve that can buy these bonds. So it's within the government, it acts in its own independence. You don't vote for them, but they can buy bonds to keep the market stable, because sometimes, say they go out and say, we need another trillion, you're not going to get those buyers straight away, right? It's not suddenly everyone's like, yeah, I've got $1 trillion to give you. So what do? They start buying back their own bonds with their printed money and so on. And that's how you don't technically print money as such, but you do, because you're creating an increase in M2 money supply, which is this supply.
And if one country, this is fascinating, if one country buys bonds from another, does it have any influence over that country? No. Because I'm trying to connect two dots here. People often joke that like the US is run by China. And obviously there's a lot of political affairs behind this, but is that because, let's say, China might have a lot of bonds?
Sorry, I answered that very quickly where I was like, no, it's because like the bond contract is agreed between the US and China, right? So that's what the agreement is. So China can't come in and say, we're pulling your money, because they've already given the money to the US. If anything, they're worried that the US will default on its debt. So it's in China's interest to make sure the US survives if it owns a lot of bond. So China is actually lowering its amount of bonds that it's buying for the US, which gives people insight into it thinking that the US will someday default on its debt, which sounds crazy, but Argentina's done it. Many countries that we know have done it. The cookie could crumble. So that could be happening. Sorry, just one more thing.
Go ahead.
The more a country inflates its currency, prints more money, it loses its purchasing power. The more so for the US, it's like it's got a mortgage, but it's earning more and more money every year because it's getting more taxes in return, or it's getting things there. So you're inflating that debt away. So suddenly 100 billion of what they borrowed 50 years ago
isn't that big a deal anymore.
No. And that's the only way it can get out of this debt cycle. Either that or it defaults on its debt.
Which is, what would be the consequences of something like that?
Well, it'd just be the end of everything we know. But the US might be a country that could get out of it. But I mean, if you default on your debt, you've suddenly said to Saudi Arabia, you've said to the average man, the pension holders, sorry, we're not paying you back. What happens to your pension?
I want something back.
Exactly.
War.
So this is big. So the only thing you can do is deflate your currency. You deflate your currency, you create a soft currency, which we're already seeing around the world. But
Whoa. Why do you know this?
Because I don't know, it just went down the rabbit hole. I mean, it's I didn't know this straight away, and I'm still learning it. I'll be honest, there's a lot of gaps that I still don't fully grasp. But you have to understand why are things going up in price everywhere we look. It's the conversation of the moment, and why that shouldn't be happening to the extent it is.
Do you know what? The conversation I'm hearing a lot at the moment isn't why is it going up, it's just that it is going up. And the one thing that I keep hearing that's kind of complicating things for me, because it bothers me a little bit, because I'm seeing no way out. Maybe you can use your vast knowledge to try and clarify this. And a lot of people are going to go, oh, you're just saying that because you're part of an organization and you employ people. But there's a lot of conversations about rent is going up, bills are going up, expenses are going up, but salaries aren't. And I'm curious, because it doesn't sound like that's the solution. I feel like this stuff needs to come down, not salary needs to come up. And I understand that's in my best interest too, our best interest. But the fact of the matter is that seems like it doesn't have a ceiling. Because one day it sounds like rent is going to be $1 million and your average low income household is going to earn $2 million. And it just doesn't sound like it will work. I don't want to pay $200,000 for a Twix bar. So
you're absolutely right. So that's something, and it's really hard as a business owner to differentiate yourself and make sure you're not always sounding like an employer. Where bottom line is everything, because you have to take yourself out of it. And I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. The thing here that we don't question, we easily question the superficial reason why things are increasing. COVID, Putin's war led to oil going up. We're looking at supply chain issues. Really easy. But what we're not looking at it is a case of the demand side. Why is demand so high when the economy has gone through so much trouble? It's not that demand is so high, it's that there's so much surplus cash and so much surplus capital into the economy. So this is a false economy where we have so much capital flowing around. People have a bit more money than they thought they did, or they did a few months, not so much now. They did 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And that's through things such as furlough schemes, business grants, and so on. Left, right, and centre, we were throwing money at the people. Yeah. And this naturally led to a bit more lax, where people were like, oh, I could spend a little bit more. And as that supply went down, people was willing to spend a bit more for this.
But, okay, and this is, again, for somebody with quite a loose grasp of the economy. Surely that's a good thing. The fact that people had a bit more money, they spent a bit more money, they helped other businesses grow, that could potentially, when people talk about boosting the economy through spending. Yeah. That's what Eat Out to Help Out was all about.
But this is false spending. This is where you've been given money, no real productivity has been achieved.
Right.
And that's the difference. That's been done through printing a bit more money.
Yeah.
So people feeling a little bit more richer. So in the early stages, Eat Out to Help Out, everything great, got the economy going. But then it started to loosen and so on, and we started to see an overheat in the economy. Now, the issue here is we're actually at very little real growth. So real growth takes into account inflation.
Right.
So, people will see their revenues go up by 20%, but inflation's gone up by, or it could go up by 22%.
Yeah. Okay.
So actually you're seeing negative real growth in your business. So we're not seeing real stuff. Whereas previously when we saw 1970s inflation, that was when the economy was actually doing really well and overheating, which is why we saw inflation, because demand was really there and so on. Now here's the real bombshell. There's only one way to come out of this.
Okay, this is what my next question was going to be.
There's only one way to come out of this for the government.
Okay.
At the moment.
Go ahead.
All right. Interest rates were at 1%, 0% for ages, 2%. That was leading to an overheating of the economy, and interest rates shouldn't be at 1-2%. That was done to stimulate businesses to borrow more, stimulate people to borrow more, which gets them to spend more, right? Things such as your 0% mattress, and so on.
I thought I was part of the solution.
Yeah. No, but there's nothing wrong with it. It gets people moving. Businesses were able to borrow. What happens when you push that interest rate up a little bit more, another percent? Suddenly businesses say, is it worth us borrowing? It's going to cost a little bit more. You start making real calculated decisions.
Yeah, I went through this process myself, actually. Actually, something I really regret was not buying a car during those times.
Right.
I now need to buy a car.
Right.
And everything is crazy. And just interest alone went from on a car payment to be, across 4 years, maybe 1,000, 1,500. Yeah. It's now £3,500, £4,000.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
So that held you back from the car you were going to buy. Yeah. So what have you done? You've stopped spending as much as you were going to spend.
You're right, I have, yeah.
And the government, in essence, does this. This is what it does with its tools, and it's perfectly okay, where it has been, where it increases the interest rates, and it causes the economy to calm down.
Cool down? You called it overheating.
Overheating.
Yeah, so it cools it down.
Cools down. This is a normal cycle that happens. The issue here is it never actually overheated. It did on the books and it did there, but it's not like we were living in the best times we've ever lived in.
Yeah.
And it's having to use tools that it would use to overheat a healthy economy in a very fragile economy. And it's trying to cause a recession because that's the only way you can drive down inflation. This recession is not accidental or anything like that. This is being forced, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's trying to do that to calm everything down and stop this price growth going on. Yeah. The issue is they go too far.
Okay.
And they start breaking things.
What does that look like for the average person?
Immediately, not much.
Yeah.
Could be a country because it'll be a global recession, potentially, because every country is having to do this. Could be a country starts to default on its debt. Not the US necessarily.
Yeah.
Could be Sri Lanka, just happened.
Yeah.
Could be Turkey. Could be wherever. Could be India. Could be somewhere else. When you start to see this, a country defaulting on its debt affects bondholders, affects everyone, and you start to see other things. Pensions start going down. I don't know what could happen next. We saw an 08-09 property bubble. Maybe it's something a little bit like that. Doubt it's probably going to be property, but it could be. Somewhere, I can't predict it. No one's got a crystal ball. Something could break from this cooling down, which really messes things up. And at that moment, I make a prediction that the government reverses, not just the UK, but the other governments reverse what they're doing of increasing interest rates, cooling down the economy. And they again reduce the interest rates, increase the spending. Rather than printing $1 trillion in America, they print 10 trillion because they need to fix things up, a bit like COVID.
Yeah.
And that's
And
what
this is the cycle you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's going to happen quicker. And it keeps going.
Okay. I really want to keep going down this rabbit hole because this is fascinating to me. But in every recession, there is an opportunity. We talk about it like this here at work. This is just now, I just wanted to pick at your brain because you know so much about this, or so much more than me. But we always talk about what are the opportunities in a recession. Yeah. And this is, oddly enough, this is terrible because I understand that some businesses are going to go through a really difficult time during a recession. We're actually a little bit excited because, well, we're in the business of generating revenue streams for businesses. Yeah. So we're kind of not really the first place people look for when they cut spending. Yeah. We're on the list. Yeah. We're just not top of the list. But also, it kind of, what does this mean for employment? Why does it have this knock-on effect on employment?
Okay. Sorry, I wanted to answer something you didn't ask a question for earlier.
I'm sorry, ask yourself.
Let me start with the employment thing before I forget. So why does it affect... so you're seeing it at the moment. Snapchat said they're laying off 20% of its workforce yesterday. Yeah. You'll start seeing more and more companies of this going on. And by the way, when I talk about recession, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom because it's really easy to get into a negative mindset. You just have to be realistic about what's about to happen. Yeah. All of these companies started overheating, gone crazy employment employment schedules, and they were employing left, right, and centre. That's why it became very difficult in a very tight labour market because it's very hard to find anyone to work. They're going to start making layoffs, and this starts easing off because they're realising that they suddenly aren't borrowing as much to invest into their business. They start generally seeing the overall economy cooling down, which makes them say, okay, we're not going to go into complete growth mode. We're going to start trimming the fat. We're going to start being a leaner business. We realize we don't need 5 people to do a job. We're going to do it with 3 or 2, or we're going to outsource our work to somewhere in Asia. You know, they start looking at how they can be strategical because what we're seeing is we're seeing a recession and we're seeing inflation happening at the same time. Yeah. And that's crazy. Those are crazy times where a recession's not leading to the consequence of reducing inflation.
And to add to your point as well, we're also seeing more people than ever leaving their jobs. Yeah. To add more fire to the
great resignation. Yeah. But they're leaving their jobs to go into another job, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They're not just leaving to party or are people
not to party, no. But actually, I get the impression that gig culture is on the rise. You know what I mean? Working Upwork, Fiverr with the flexibility of working remotely and things like that.
And that will continue to rise. I just don't think... I think people will want to return to some kind of stability as well.
I think it will crash. Yeah, I think it will be higher than it's ever been. Yeah. But I do think a lot of people will want to go back.
Because why if you look at why people go into a job, they go because they want stability, they want that regular income, they want to know where they're going. And when you suddenly have the gig economy, you're all on your own, which works in good times. Yeah. Works in times of easy money. When I say easy money, I mean free flowing money in the economy. Spend, yeah. But when times are harder, things contract and they go down. Yeah.
No, because we had a discussion not that long ago of I don't know if you maybe ran. No, I don't know. We can talk about it. But this is a really good opportunity for us to hire. There's going to be a lot of very, very good talent that are going to be maybe not necessarily they don't want to stay at their job, unfortunately maybe made redundant. Yeah. And we recognize that good talent builds good businesses, and that's what we're looking to do.
Absolutely.
So this is that pessimistic view turned into an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about doing that. What can we do to position ourselves in the right way? The other thing that I am really excited about, I say excited, obviously there's certain apprehensions as any business will have, a business owner will have, and trying to see what we can do to position ourselves well. Yeah. But when I go back to easy money, so easy money is cheap money. So when you're able to borrow at a cheap interest rate, or there's so much free flowing money in an economy, businesses start making a lot of excess cash. Yeah. And what that leads to is them making poor capital allocation decisions, where they suddenly start saying, oh, we got 100k, we're going to do 50k on a TV ad and 20k on this. And they don't think about where they're spending their money as much. It's what happens, right? I know we've all done it where we've, we've probably spent a little bit more than we should have, or we've not thought about where we're spending our money as much, just from certain scenarios that have gone on where maybe we got gifted a little bit more for our birthdays when we were younger or whatever, and we paid a bit more for our Game Boy or whatever it was. This is what happens in the economy. They start misallocating. So when you have low interest rates for too long and far too long, businesses start making very silly decisions. And this starts to lead to very, what they say of hard times make strong men, and good times or strong times make weak men. So it's the same with a business.
I really love that, so I want to go through it. It's I think it's hard times make strong men.
There we go.
I was speaking to my granddad about this of all people. Hard times make strong men. Strong men make easy times make weak men, and then weak men make hard times, and it goes back in that cycle.
Yeah, you made it perfect. I love that. Statement, so think about that in the economy, right? Whilst COVID and everything, we actually have been in quite easy times in the sense money has been abundant, in the sense furlough and this and that. It's been tough on people, but people have had money if they've had the right connections and the right government scheme and so on. And now what that's led to, and prior to COVID as well, low interest rates and so on, we've had really bullish markets. Businesses have been doing well. Businesses have been making good and bad decisions. The good ones have been getting away, but even the bad ones have been passing through. And we've seen it with clients and things where there are potentially decisions that we don't favor, but they've been being made. So what I potentially see coming up, depending on how things pan out over the next few years, are businesses start being really picky about where their money goes, which again is a bit daunting in the sense, okay, we're going to have to fight harder as a business, fight harder for retention. But we're in the business of performance marketing. We're in the business of measuring, improving sales, not just doing fancy odd marketing. Yeah,
it's that. I was just going to say, it's the breadcrumbs tend to lead to the people who you can see a statistical benefit of working with, rather than, stuff like, and this is a terrible thing to say because we've just been discussing like a PR push, but like PR is going to matter a little bit less. Reputation, street cred, whatever that is. It's not necessarily going to mean as much when somebody is, you can see that you've pumped 10 grand in and gotten 40 back.
Sure.
So that's interesting. But again, you have to prove your worth to be that person to do that. We're not the only performance-based marketing. We're not the only performance-based agency, company, whatever.
And maybe it makes us stronger as a company where we stop, we go, I like to say we go above and beyond, but we go to the 10th degree to make sure we prove our worth. We're actually genuinely bringing the results that we promise our clients, and we don't leave a stone unturned. So it's going to be tough, but maybe it makes us a stronger business overall that's ready for the next wave up.
And to add to all of that, the natural order of how, businesses or disruptive or innovative, whatever buzzword you want to use, whatever business in whatever sector, when you're something new and something fresh, you go through this phase. And I worked in fintech where they used this example. We literally just spoke about this, of you're in competition with about 4 or 5 other people that have come up with the same concept as you around the world or whatever. And essentially it's not about coming out on top. Right. It's about being the only survivor. And the only way to do that is surviving easy in hard times, whatever. And at one point, you're just going to have to dominate. You're just going to have to be the best, because it's not about getting and finishing the race first. It's about the fact that actually 99% of the people aren't going to finish the race at all. You just have to be strong enough to actually get to the end.
Definitely.
And that's the phase I feel like we're at now.
I think so. And you really touched on something there, because as we head into these... let's say tighter times, right? However you want to describe them. As a business, you can make 2 decisions, and I feel we're not in a position where we bloated, so we're not necessarily needing to
very careful. Not
we're being careful, probably maybe a bit too careful, arguably, maybe. During certain times. But here we are. Yeah. Whereas now companies are going into the cutting the fat stage, trying to be lean. We ideally class ourselves as quite a lean business, an agile business. So what I hope you agree is we can be taking this business is into a building phase, where this is a bear market. Bear markets are for building an absolutely rock solid machine, not trying to trim back all expenses, but allocating where we know we will get return, bringing in the right people, bolstering our team, and structuring everything overall. So yeah, we're almost easing our foot on the pedal without trying to show too much, like jerking the car too much. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. If you use to sum up, Klarna is really bad. So we started this conversation.
Yeah. But it's insane where we're heading. But I'm, like you say, there's always opportunity.
Always, and like arguably this is where opportunity is in abundance, because and this is the next thing I wanted to talk about was what about on a personal level?
Mm-hmm.
Because during recessions and any sort of financial uproar, there are usually some diamonds in the rough that manifest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think did you say it was like 08 or whatever? That's where like maybe property was. Did that go up or down in price?
So 08, 09, properties like completely plummeted.
Plummeted, yeah.
Yeah, one of the worst times.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, we had a 10 to 12 year bull market where property just went crazy.
It's a great opportunity to scoop up some property.
Yeah.
Same, Bitcoin is now at an all-time low. I'm not saying buy Bitcoin.
I don't know, all-time low. I mean, it was 1 cent at one point.
Yeah, I know, but like
it's low.
All time since I purchased.
Yeah. Okay.
And I purchased at around this price, and we went up to 40 whatever, and I was like, yeah.
They went up to 50k GBP at one point.
Yeah, so it went up to 50,
Yeah.
and then we're back down to here, and I'm torn between kicking myself or buying more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, but you said that something is going to happen. It's fragile enough for something to break.
Yeah.
If you were to look into your crystal ball, what do you think that might be? Just to give people clear financial advice to go out and buy this.
That they can hold me to.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not going to predict what's going to break. As in, I'll say a few things that could, but I probably will get them completely wrong. So don't hold me to that. What I can, guarantee is a strong word, what I can predict is when something breaks, governments are going to do what they did in the peak of COVID.
Bail it out.
Yeah. Just like they did in 08, 09, they bailed out the banks. Mm-hmm. Just like in COVID, they helped a bit. And bailing out isn't a bad thing. In government, I probably would have done the same. Yeah. Right? Helping.
How could you?
Helping everyone, bring it. They probably went too far with the amount of free-flowing money, but they needed to do what they did. When things break again, could be the end of this year, could be early next year.
That soon?
Could be.
Okay.
I mean, they're really keen of kind of cooling things down. So I don't know. It might not be. But it looks like we're already heading into a recession anyway, so who knows? It could be late next year, who knows? When it happens, like I said earlier, in COVID, the US government printed $1 trillion back then, which was extraordinary. They never printed anything over 1T, right? It'd already been in the bills. Now a billion's nothing, 100 bill here, 100 bill there's nothing. Yeah. This one, I think, is going to be in the 10 trillions. This is going to be a big bailout. Every time it gets more and more.
Yeah.
In the 08-09 crisis, it was 100, 200 billion. Went up to, and so on. And it will keep going more and more. It went up to 700 billion in total.
Interesting.
This one's going to be a big bailout. And what that means is more inflation. Yeah. Not necessarily in our prices of eggs, but in the prices of property, in the prices of assets, harder assets. Yeah.
Okay. And this is... we're running out of time here, but I just wanted to ask you quite a pot-stirring conversation. Mm-hmm. This is what I would argue was a healthy conversation about the economy. Okay? Yeah. Do you think that some people... Is this an opportunity for fear-mongering? I've been trying to wrap my head around Andrew Tate's skyrocketing fame. Mm-hmm. Obviously now on a bit of a plummet. There's a lot of shit happening to him, and you can debate amongst yourselves whether you think that's rightfully so or not. But it was people are already a little bit of afraid, because I've had this internal joke in my head that Andrew Tate is the next Donald Trump. Okay. Right? And the reason why that makes sense to me is because every time you see somebody in this position, somebody who skyrockets to fame or power, is because there's a little bit of fear. Yeah. And somebody feeds off of that and sort of exacerbates that. Mm-hmm. Do you think Andrew Tate 5 years ago, 6 years ago, would have achieved the same level of how big of a deal is this to getting people to rally behind him?
Sorry, how big of a deal is fear-mongering? Is
this financial situation that we're in right now. He has this whole bit about how we're entering the matrix or whatever.
What does he say? Sorry, just so that is he saying we're entering the worst period.
He's essentially. This is all what I get from other people.
Yeah,
I don't really
and the
care
little
for
clips,
that guy very much. But it's essentially like you need to arm yourself with a load of money and stuff and live under a bunker. I don't know what he talks about, but
look, there's definitely an amount of fear mongering. The thing I look at is on news channels, right? Because they represent what the government essentially wants us to speak about and so on.
Yeah.
Probably going to get taken off YouTube for this.
I think you're all right.
But in this essence of the economy and a recession, I think you'll actually see governments, and you're seeing this at the moment, downplaying how bad it is.
Yeah, okay.
Because they want you to continue to spend, continue to be happy, spending money, using your Klarna, whatever it takes to buy clothes, do this, consume. They want us to consume because that looks good on the economy. Yeah. It's crazy consumption because you don't need to buy 10 jackets or whatever, right? You just need one. They get us into this consuming addiction. I don't think, it's digressed from your question, but I don't think they're fear-mongering on the recession.
Maybe not them. Is this I'm just, I'm not saying I want to use it, to get a following, start fear-mongering.
Yeah.
You're all going to die unless you listen to what I say, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what Donald Trump did.
I mean, Robert Kiyosaki,
Big fan of Robert Kiyosaki.
Big fan of him when he wrote his book and a few things that he said. He's been predicting a market crash since 2013. 2013 to 2021 have been the best years of the economy ever. So every year he's been going, every few months he's like, this is the end, this is the crash, and so on. And everyone's like, you're just fear-mongering to get to get people's attention, so they all start getting scared. So yes, loads of people do it. People love that, because as people we love to be stressed or to have concern. It's what gets our attention.
And to be validated. This must have already been lingering in some people's mind.
Very true.
So I'm wondering what fear I could monger.
I think people, you don't need to make up fear. You need to show the positivity in certain areas, and you need to show where people need to wake up and smell what's coming, because it's not, what's the saying? Smell
the roses, the third floor urinal.
Smell the urinal, because there is a lot of stuff that I think people fear and they get concerned over the wrong things, and they choose to ignore the things that are genuinely big issues at the moment. But anyway,
so it's massively educational for me.
Was it okay? I'm glad in between all of the crap. But no, this was a really good chat.
Yeah, because I hear things, I talk about things. You're at cafe with friends, and you're like this. You collectively complain about X happening, Z happening. And every time in the back of my mind, I'm just like, okay, so what's the solution? Because what you're proposing doesn't work. You can't just keep going up and up and up.
No.
But
I think, and that is bang on, because before you get to the solution, you have to look at the root cause.
Yeah.
Every single time.
And I hope people can take away from that as much as I did, because I'll be honest, I'll put my hands up and say, when people talk about printing money, I thought the government is the only person who has the right, or the Bank of England is the only company, the establishment that has the right to print more money. And I thought it was the physical act of printing money. Yeah. And somehow I don't know how, but injecting that into the economy. So I thought that, let's say you have £100 in an economy, they add another 100, and obviously that original 100 is now only worth 50 because there's two of them. And that's how I thought that's as much as my knowledge went.
I mean, that you're not wrong.
No, at a level it is, but that doesn't work when, like you say, it's not the root cause. It's not when you're trying to think in these conversations of a solution or something to add to the conversation. It doesn't add anything. It's just how I digested that information.
Just finally, I don't know how much time we have, but there's a thing called the cancel-on effect, right? And it's, as you say, when the government prints money, let's say it just prints money, it has a printer, it doesn't magically airdrop them to every single person in the country, or every single person in the world, right? It has to start somewhere, and it feeds its way through. The cancel-on effect, you can have a cantillionaire, is the effect of being, basically, imagine you have a tap, and this one tap feeds the whole population. The people at the front of the tap or near the front of the line will obviously get a bit more of the water than everyone else, because they will pass it on, but they'll take a bit of it before it gets on to everyone else. And here we see the cancel-on effect, where you see that the government, the way it gets money into the economy through QE, quantitative easing, is it invests in infrastructure. So you'll see roadworks everywhere across the country. That's the government pumping money into the infrastructure and the economy. And who wins? The people that are the highway agency, the private companies that are associated with that.
And again, this is the thing that, like, deep down it angers me, because when people say stuff like the rich is getting richer and the poor is getting poorer, I'm like, I know that you're right, but I also know that you don't know what that means. So when you explain it like that, I'm like, okay, because I don't know what it means either until you explained it to me like that. But again, that's put my mind at ease. I hear that so much, and it doesn't bother me that somebody's saying that, because technically speaking, they're right. It's like my analogy of printing money. It's technically right.
But
why that analogy bothered me, and why when people say that it bothers me, I'm like, I know that you're right, but I know that you also have no idea what that means.
I know, but it's so it's honestly, like I said, I barely understand this subject, but it's fascinating, and it turns into a bit of a rabbit hole. So
there you go. And now people can watch this.
Yes.
Go to the pub with their mates and pretend like they read.
Exactly. And get a few things slightly wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll fact check myself and put it in the comments.
Yeah, man. All right, this was dope. Brilliant. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
That's the end.
Thank you. All right. If you enjoyed listening to episode 38, I was about to say 20, 38, please don't hesitate to comment. Let us know what you think. If you want to hear anything else. If you didn't like our subject, whatever you like. Subscribe, do what you got to do, and see you next week.